Frank, how difficult has it been and frustrating trying to get a big name opponent for Nathan Cleverly?
Well, it's been very frustrating over the last few months. We've made offers to various fighters, including and negotiated with various promoters for fights, including Bernard Hopkins, Shumanov. I made an offer, excuse me, to Carl Froch's promoters, and we offered Tony Bellew a rematch.
Why do you think big name fighters don't want to seem to fight Nathan Cleverly?
Well, I think that Bernard Hopkins is a law unto himself, so you know I can't fault him. I can only negotiate with as I did do, with his representatives, and at the end of the day we agreed that Nathan would go and box him in New York, but it wasn't to be. Shumanov agreed to fight. We were again willing to go to Vegas, but they couldn't secure a TV date from Showtime, so they said maybe we can do it, or they'd like to do it in the new year. Carl Froch, I offered him a written £1 million offer. The reply that I got, which was 30 minutes after the offer, saying that he's going to stay at super middleweight, so that wasn't to be. And Tony Bellew, for whatever reasons, we didn't want the rematch, because otherwise we'd have done it.
I know you've got past experience negotiating with Bernard Hopkins from your time with Joe Calzaghe. Just how difficult is he to deal with in negotiating a big fight?
Well, he's very difficult. I mean, years ago I agreed terms for him to fight when he was with Don King, for him to fight Joe Calzaghe. We got off the phone. I said, Joe, it's a done deal. And then the following day, Hopkins rang up and asked for double the amount of money. So that's where you are. It is difficult, but you know, I'm in the Nathan Cleverly business, and as far as I'm concerned, that's all that counts at the moment. So we're not sitting around waiting for people. He's got to fight in the meantime. He's fighting a guy who I think is going to bring the best out of him. He's a tough opponent, good puncher. He's been 12 rounds with Shumanov and had Shumanov on the floor, former European champion. So I believe that it'll be a good fight for Nathan, and provided he comes through it and looks good, set him up for some bigger fights next year.
Will you get any pressure off Nathan Cleverly to try and secure a fight against a big name?
Of course, I've got pressure. He wants big fights, and and I want to deliver the big fights, but you can't. You can lead a horse to water and so forth, and that's where we've been. In the meantime, as I say, he's got to keep busy, so he's fighting as Belikov, and that's the direction we're in. Get that one out of the way, then we'll look to see what we're going to do in the new year.
So after this fight, what's the plans for Nathan Cleverly, bear in mind the trouble you've had to try and secure fights for him in the immediate past?
Well, my job is delivering fights. I've been doing it for many, many years, and he's going to get a big fight next year. But all I'm focusing on now is the 27th of October. That's where we're at.
Would you consider advising Nathan Cleverly to move up to cruiserweight if a big fight can be made in that division?
Not at all. He's a light heavyweight. May look at it, but at the moment he's a light heavyweight, and that's where his future lies.
You mentioned Carl Froch earlier. When I interviewed Carl about 4 months ago, he said he didn't consider Nathan Cleverly a true world champion because he held the WBO belt. How would you respond to that?
Well, let's put it this way. Manny Pacquiao owns the WBO belt. Joe Calzaghe owns the WBO belt. Nassim Hamid was a WBO champion. Vladimir Klitschko is a WBO champion. Does Carl Froch rank alongside any of those names? To me, no. He's won the IBF title, and congratulations for doing it against Butte. But if I recall, he got taken to score in the States against Ward. He got beat by Kessler, the fellow Joe Calzaghe, the WBO champion, beat. And at the end of the day, it's about making money and fighting the best. Is Yusuf Mack, who's not fought at super middleweight for 5 years, would you consider him to be a worthy opponent? I've got a feeling if I'd announced Yusuf Mack for Nathan, I think I'd have got some stick.
The David Haye-Chisora fight, which you were involved in managing Derek in, was a massive success for British boxing. But how was your relationship with the British Border Control after that show?
Well, I'm still promoting fights and managing fighters under my British Boxing Border Control licence. It is what it is. What happened wasn't illegal, and it was, it's well documented. and it's happened, and we move on from there.
Does it concern you, Frank, that over the last 12 months or so, there's been a lot of fringe titles entering British boxing, such as the WBO European belt? I notice has appeared in a number of fights. Do you think it sort of demeans boxing and confuses the fans when there's so many different belts around, especially at sort of regional, sort of British level?
Well, years ago, people used to fight for a southern area title, where I come from, in the south southern area. Then they'd fight then you'd have eliminations and so forth. That's how it was. I think these belts, I don't think it's about the belts either. I think it's about fighters fighting. I think it's about fighters. I'd much rather my fighter be getting experience in a 10-round or 12-round fight than fighting an 8-round fight where there isn't any belt. And more importantly, I think people, I think the fans, the true fans, are much more brighter than people give them credit for. I don't think they're confused at all. I think the only confusing thing in boxing is probably the two Klitschko brothers, because people can't distinguish who they are. I don't think the man on the street, and for once you haven't got a true world champion where you've had, when I be a true world champion, one guy being the best, where you've always had that, all over every decade there's been an outstanding heavyweight, and that's not happening in heavyweight boxing at the moment because the two brothers will never fight each other. However, I don't think the fans are. I think it's demeaning to fans for people to not think that they know what they're watching and what they're buying tickets for. And at the moment, boxing's on a high. I mean, all the shows that we've put on this year have been virtual sellouts. Going from the small hall shows, going to West Ham, which is a big show, up in Liverpool, which is a big show with Nathan and Tony Bellew. We're up in Scotland in a couple of weeks' time with Kevin Mitchell challenging Ricky Burns for the title. So there's some, the fans are coming out in their droves to watch these fights. And there's more boxing now on TV than there's ever been, believe it or not. You've got Sky, you've got Box Nation, Channel 5, and some other fringe areas.
You mentioned in the press conference earlier that you'd like Enzo Maccarinelli to retire. If he does come through his next fight with a win, where does he go next after that?
That's going to be his choice. That'll be his choice. At the end of the day, it's going to be Enzo's choice. He's a fighting man. He spends all his time in the gym, trains, he works with young kids. But that'll be his choice. But I'm very blunt about it, and I've been saying it for the last 2 years or so. He should retire.
What can the boxing fans expect from Frank Warren's stable of boxers over the next 12, 18 months?
We've got a press conference, Box Nation press conference next Thursday. We'll be announcing what we're doing for the next year, this forthcoming season. So we've got some good things lined up and some big fights that we hopefully can put together.
Did you watch the Olympic boxing, Frank, and were you impressed with the standard of the boxing this year's London Olympics?
I did watch it. It was a good standard. I mean, I thought our the Brits did well. Record amount of medals, from the sort of previous years. But you'd expect that from being the home nation. That's normally how it works out. I thought it was a good Olympics. I think that they all did well. I'm not a fan of women's boxing, but I thought the young lady, or a couple of young ladies there, did exceptionally well, and it seems the public really took to that. And good luck to them, and God bless them. They put a lot of effort, work, and their hard endeavours into their sport, and came through with the gold. So, brilliant.
If a female boxer from the Olympics approached you about turning professional, would you consider promoting her?
I'd say to her, you're better off speaking to the younger guys. Maybe speaking to Francis or George, my sons, and see what they think about it. I wouldn't do it. I'm a chauvinist, whatever you want to call it, but I don't like to see women hit each other.